They called me a coward, a disgrace, a fraud wearing a leotard. The cameras didn't blink, but my body froze. My hands trembled. My heart thudded like it wanted to escape. Millions were watching, waiting for perfection. But I couldn't even move. I wasn't injured. I wasn't sick. I just couldn't. And in that moment under the blinding lights of the Olympics, I made the choice no one expected. I walked away. Was I weak? Or was I finally strong enough to stop pretending? You think you know my story, but you've only seen the medals, never the scars. People think that gold medals protect you from pain. That if you're wearing the red, white, and blue, if you're smiling on the podium, then everything must be perfect behind the scenes. But I'm here to tell you, it's not. My name is Naomi Fields. You might have seen me flip, twist, and soar through the air. You might have cheered as I broke records and redefined what a gymnast could be, but what you didn't see, what nobody saw, was the quiet collapse behind the curtain. I didn't come from privilege. I didn't have a perfect family, or perfect support, or perfect confidence. I was raised by my grandparents after my mom lost herself to addiction. I was the tiny girl in oversized leotards that no coach took seriously. Too short, too weird, too different. And even when I proved them wrong, when I became the best, they still didn't see me. Not really. They didn't see the abuse I survived. They didn't hear my panic behind the music. They didn't know what it took to keep smiling through the pain. Until one day, I stopped smiling. This story isn't about quitting. It's about surviving. It's about what happens when a girl the world tried to break chooses to heal, and then rises higher than anyone thought possible. If you've ever been judged, doubted, or called crazy for walking away from something toxic, this story is for you. Like this video if you've ever had to put yourself first. Comment below with your city and country. We want to know where our story is reaching. And don't forget to subscribe. More powerful stories like this are coming. Because sometimes the strongest move is choosing yourself. They say greatness starts early. That champions are born in the spotlight. But I wasn't born on a podium. I was born in chaos. My name wasn't even Naomi at first. I don't talk about that often. The first few years of my life are just flashes. Cold floors, empty fridges. A woman's voice screaming, then suddenly singing. My birth mom wasn't evil. She was sick. Lost in something stronger than love, addiction. I remember the smell before I remember her face. I don't blame her. But I also don't remember ever feeling safe. Not until Nana Ruth stepped in. She was my mom's mom, a quiet woman with strong hands and even stronger eyes. She didn't have much, a small house in a forgotten part of Cleveland, barely enough to feed two, let alone take in a wild toddler. But she did it anyway. She didn't say much, just opened her door, picked me up, and said, "You're home now." That's where my story really begins. On a worn-out mattress, surrounded by second-hand toys, in a house that creaked every time the wind blew. But it was mine. And for the first time, I could breathe. I was always different. Small for my age, bouncing off the walls like I had springs in my bones. Nana said I was built like a rubber band. I climbed furniture like it was jungle gym bars. Did backflips off the couch. At church, I couldn't sit still. At school, I couldn't stop moving. Then one day, on a school field trip, everything changed. We visited a local gymnastics center. Just for fun. I'd never seen anything like it. Beams, bars, mats the size of a room. When the coach asked who wanted to try a somersault, I didn't raise my hand. I ran to the floor and did 3. Everyone laughed, even the other kids. But not in a mean way. For once, my energy wasn't too much. It was magic. That coach, Miss Danielle, pulled me aside afterward. "Where do you train?" she asked. I shrugged. "I don't." She raised an eyebrow. "You should." That night, I told Nana I wanted to do gymnastics. She looked at me, tired from her night shift, and simply said, "We'll figure it out." But I could tell she didn't know how. We didn't have money for leotards, much less tuition. The gym was across town. I didn't even have a ride. But Nana made it happen. She picked up an extra weekend job cleaning offices, sold her old jewelry, took buses through rainstorms to get me to practice. People say I was born to fly, but the truth is, she gave me wings. At the gym, I stood out, and not in the good way. I didn't look like the other girls. My skin was darker. My curls never stayed down. My hand-me-down shoes squeaked on the floor. Some parents whispered. Some coaches hesitated. One girl's mom asked the front desk if this was the right place for someone like me. I heard her. I never forgot. But Miss Danielle saw something in me. She said I had air sense, the rare ability to know where I was mid-flit. While the other girls needed mats and spotting, I just felt it. My body knew before my brain did. Still, talent wasn't enough. I trained in socks when I couldn't afford grips. Practiced flips in the backyard when we couldn't afford extra hours. Ate peanut butter sandwiches before 5-hour training blocks. And slowly, I got better. Stronger. Focused. Then came my first meet. I was 9 years old, barely 4 feet tall, standing under stadium lights with a number pinned to my back. When I realized the whole world still saw me as a mistake. Not a prodigy, not a gymnast, just a little black girl from nowhere, trying to pretend she belonged, and I was about to prove to them all I did. I thought the outside world was cold. Until I met Coach Leonard. At first, I felt honored to train under him. He had coached champions, medalists, girls, who smiled from magazine covers and waved at parades. But it didn't take long for me to realize he didn't see people. He saw results, and me. I was too small. Too different. My brown skin didn't match the polished image of the team. My name was hard to pronounce. My curls didn't bounce like theirs. I wasn't the prototype. I was the question mark in the back row. He never said that out loud. He didn't have to. His eyes did. Lift your legs, you're flopping like a dying fish. Smile like that again, and I'll make sure you're off the team. That spin. My grandma could do better. He tore me down in front of the others, and they laughed. Every time I stumbled, every time I hesitated, every moment I looked like I didn't belong, they treated it like proof. Proof he was right. But the shouting wasn't the worst. It was the silence. When he'd walk past me without a glance, when he corrected every girl in line except me, when he'd chat with their parents and ignore my grandmother like she didn't even exist, like I didn't deserve her love, or her time. I trained through blisters, through headaches, through nights where I cried in the locker room, face buried in a towel so no one would hear me. Once, I missed a bar routine and landed hard. My ankle twisted. I screamed. Coach Leonard looked down at me and said, "If it hurts, it's because you did it wrong. Get up." I felt small, worthless, like a ghost in my own body. But I always got up, because I thought that's what winners did. They swallowed pain. They pushed through. They made themselves numb enough to become worthy. I convinced myself he was helping me. That one day, he'd say good job. One single time. One single nod of approval. It never came. Even when I won my first state meet. Even when I nailed a near-perfect vault. He stood there, arms crossed, like none of it mattered. That was the minimum. Don't get cocky. And I believed him. My Nana started to notice. She'd say, "Baby, you don't smile when you talk about practice anymore." But I'd fake one anyway. I didn't want her to worry. I just wanted Coach Leonard to see me. To believe in me. Because if he did, maybe that meant I was enough. And that hunger for his approval led me to do something I'll never forget. The following week, he gave me a brand new routine to learn. It was risky, complex, and I wasn't ready. I tried to speak up, but he cut me off. "You either land it or you're not competing this weekend." So I stayed quiet and did what he asked. On my third try, I lost track midair. My body twisted wrong. My arm slammed the bar. The mat rushed up to meet me. I felt a pop in my shoulder. Everything went blurry, and the gym went silent. No one ran. No one screamed. They just watched. Sitting in the nurse's room, ice on my shoulder, tears running down my face. I heard Coach Leonard talking outside with another coach. She never had the mindset of a champion. The weak ones always break. And something inside me cracked that day. But it wasn't a bone. It was the belief that I needed his validation to be great. You ever have a moment so quiet, it drowns out everything else? That was the locker room, the day after my fall. "No, you okay? No, you tried your best." Just cold benches, echoing pipes, and the sound of my wrap crinkling around my shoulder. Coach Leonard didn't even look at me. He walked in, gave the lineup for the weekend, skipped over my name, and walked right out. That silence. It spoke louder than all his insults ever could. I sat there long after everyone else left. I remember tracing the grooves on my locker with my finger, trying to breathe without letting tears fall. But it hit me hard. I'd given everything for someone who saw me as disposable. I thought about quitting. Not gymnastics, him, his approval, his system, his version of success. But how? I had no backup plan, no other coach, no offers. No one was knocking at my door begging me to join their team. I was a short, injured, black girl from a forgotten zip code with nothing but a half-torn leotard and a busted shoulder. Still, something inside me whispered, "You deserve better." That whisper became louder when Nana picked me up. She didn't say anything at first, just looked at me. Then she turned off the radio and said, "Simone, that man doesn't get to decide your future. You do." She always knew what to say when I needed to hear it most. That night, I opened my journal for the first time in months. And instead of writing down routines or goals, I wrote this: "If they won't see me, I'll make them." I didn't know how. But I knew I was done begging for permission to matter. A week later, something unexpected happened. Coach Leonard was gone. No warning. No goodbye, just replaced. Whispers started flying. Something about complaints. Investigations. I didn't know what to think. Part of me felt relief. Another part, terrified, because now I had no anchor. And no excuses. The new coach, Coach Mari, was nothing like him. She introduced herself to every girl, looked us in the eye, asked about school, family, feelings. At first, we didn't know how to act. We were used to fear, not kindness. She watched me do a basic warm-up and said, "You move like someone who's been surviving, not thriving." That hit me like a truck. She wasn't wrong. My whole career had been built on survival. Fear of being cut, fear of not being enough, fear of slipping back into invisibility. So when she said, "Let's rebuild," I didn't fully believe her. But I showed up. Every day. With my rap. With my doubts, with my cracked confidence. She adjusted my form, gave me strength work, and slowly I started to move differently. Not just on the mat. In my head, I wasn't dancing for approval anymore. I was reclaiming space. I was becoming someone I recognized again. One day, she pulled me aside and said, "I know who you are. You don't have to prove anything to me. But if you want to show the world, I'll help." And in that moment, for the first time, I felt seen. Really seen. We started working on a new routine. Not just technically difficult, emotionally raw. It had elements no one else dared to do at my level. And it told a story of silence, of strength, of fire hiding beneath control. She let me choreograph parts. She let me own it. And even though my body still hurt, my soul didn't. Then came the regional qualifiers. It was my first major meet since the injury, since the fall, since everything. I walked onto the mat, lights in my face, crowd murmuring, judges whispering. And just before the music started, I saw Coach Leonard in the stands. Front row, arms crossed, watching me. My stomach twisted. All those memories rushed back. His words, his silence, his control. But I didn't flinch. I stood taller. Because this routine wasn't for him. It was for the girl who sat in that locker room alone. For the one who stayed. For the one who chose herself. And when the music hit, so did I. Every tumble. Every leap. Every spin. I wasn't just performing, I was rewriting history. And by the end, when I struck my final pose, the arena wasn't silent anymore. It was roaring. Not for perfection, but for power reclaimed. I pinned something in the comments that might help you like it. Helped me. 250 delicious keto recipes that turn healthy eating into something you actually enjoy. This isn't about starving. It's about fueling your body without the guilt. Because every comeback starts with a single choice. You ever have a moment so quiet? It drowns out everything else. That was the locker room, the day after my fall. "No, you okay? No, you tried your best." Just cold benches, echoing pipes, and the sound of my rap crinkling around my shoulder. I could feel the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead like they were mocking me. Coach Leonard didn't even look at me. He walked in, gave the lineup for the weekend, skipped over my name, and walked right out. Not a word, not a glance, just erasure. That silence. It spoke louder than all his insults ever could. I sat there long after everyone else left. I remember tracing the grooves on my locker with my finger, trying to breathe without letting the tears fall. But it hit me hard. I'd given everything for someone who saw me as disposable. I thought about quitting, not gymnastics, him. His approval, his system, his version of success. But how? I had no backup plan. No other coach, no offers. No one was knocking at my door begging me to join their team. I was a short, injured, black girl from a forgotten zip code with nothing but a half-torn leotard and a busted shoulder. Still, something inside me whispered, "You deserve better." That whisper became louder when Nana picked me up. She didn't say anything at first, just looked at me. Then she turned off the radio and said, "Simone, that man doesn't get to decide your future. You do." She always knew what to say when I needed to hear it most. That night, I opened my journal for the first time in months. And instead of writing down routines or goals, I wrote this: if they won't see me, I'll make them. I didn't know how, but I knew I was done begging for permission to matter. A week later, something unexpected happened. Coach Leonard was gone. No warning. No goodbye. Just replaced. Whispers started flying. Something about complaints, investigations. I didn't know what to think. Part of me felt relief. Another part, terrified, because now I had no anchor. And no excuses. Who was this new coach, and would she be any different? The new coach, Coach Mary, was nothing like him. She introduced herself to every girl, looked us in the eye, asked about school, family, feelings. At first, we didn't know how to act. We were used to fear, not kindness. She watched me do a basic warm-up and said, "You move like someone who's been surviving, not thriving." That hit me like a truck. She wasn't wrong. My whole career had been built on survival. Fear of being cut. Fear of not being enough. Fear of slipping back into invisibility. So when she said, "Let's rebuild," I didn't fully believe her, but I showed up. Every day. With my rap. With my doubts. With my cracked confidence. She adjusted my form, gave me strength work. And slowly I started to move differently. Not just on the mat. In my head, I wasn't dancing for approval anymore. I was reclaiming space. I was becoming someone I recognized again. She pulled me aside one day and said, "I know who you are. You don't have to prove anything to me. But if you want to show the world, I'll help." And in that moment, for the first time, I felt seen. Really seen. We started working on a new routine. Not just technically difficult, emotionally raw. It had elements no one else dared to do at my level. And it told a story. Of silence. Of strength. Of fire hiding beneath control. She let me choreograph parts. She let me own it. Even though my body still hurt. My soul didn't. Then came the regional qualifiers. It was my first major meet since the injury. Since the fall. Since everything. I walked onto the mat. Lights in my face. Crowd murmuring. Judges whispering. And just before the music started, I saw him, Coach Leonard. Front row, arms crossed, watching me. All the air left my lungs. But instead of fear, I felt something else rising. Resolve. He didn't break me. He woke me up, so I danced. And with every move, I wasn't just doing a routine, I was telling my story. I was reclaiming my voice. I was showing him and everyone else what happens when you stop surviving and start living. When I landed that final pass, the room went silent, then erupted. Not because I was perfect, but because I was free. Coach Mari met me at the edge of the mat and whispered, "That's the girl I've been waiting to meet." And I smiled. Because I'd just met her too. I thought the hardest part was behind me. Turns out, stepping back onto the mat wasn't the real battle, it was everything that came after. After that meet where I stared Leonard in the eyes and didn't flinch, things changed. Judges started noticing me. Scouts wrote my name down. And suddenly, people who used to whisper behind my back were posting about me like they'd always believed. But recognition doesn't come free. Not for girls like me. One of the scouts called me interesting, then paused and added, "For your background." For my background, not for my talent. Not for my routines. Not for the hours I bled on foam and chalk. No, for my background. I smiled, said thank you, then walked straight to the bathroom and screamed into a towel. That comment stuck to me like sweat. Because no matter how high I flew, I was still being tethered to where they thought I came from. Still, I kept pushing. Coach Mari and I revamped my bars routine. She introduced these insane transitions stuff no one my size was supposed to do. But that was the point. We weren't playing it safe. We were making noise. And then, the spotlight got brighter. Faster than I could process. Local news did a feature, then national. Suddenly, I had interviews, podcasts, messages from girls saying I made them feel seen. It was overwhelming. I still lived in the same house. Still washed my own leotards in the sink. But now people treated me like I owed them my story. Then the call came. The US team was watching. Not an offer, not a guarantee, just this. "We're keeping an eye on Simone." That sentence rattled me. Because being watched meant being judged. And I wasn't sure if I could take that again. But Nana, with her usual calm fire, said, "Let them watch. They might just learn something." Coach Mari smiled and said, "Don't shrink now. You're not a shadow anymore." So I didn't. We trained harder, focused deeper, but then my body started rebelling. I'd ignored the sign sex that didn't go away, cracks in my energy. My shoulder flared up. My knees ached. Mari told me we needed to pull back. I said no. I wasn't going to slow down. Not now. Not when the team might be watching. Not when every meet was a chance to prove I was more than interesting. So I pushed. I competed with pain meds in my bag and wraps on both knees. And then it happened. During a vault warm-up at a national qualifier, I landed weird. My knee buckled. I fell hard. The silence in that arena felt like déjà vu. Everyone watched. No one moved. I limped off. Told Mari I was fine. Lied through my teeth. We finished the meet. I placed second. No one knew I was crying in the locker room between events. I didn't want sympathy. I wanted to be seen as unstoppable. But I was breaking. The call from the US team finally came. They wanted me for trials, and I had to decide: go injured and risk everything, or sit out and risk being forgotten. It felt like choosing between pain and invisibility. That night, I sat on the floor of my room, surrounded by tape, braces, and Tiger Balm. I stared at my reflection in the trophy I'd just won, and I asked myself, do you want this for you, or for them? The answer didn't come that night. But the next morning, I walked into the gym, and I said to Mari, let's do this, but on my terms. She didn't even blink. Just nodded. We adjusted the routines. Modified impact. Focused on execution, not just flash. And in every movement, I channeled not the Simone they expected, but the Simone I was becoming. The one who didn't perform for approval. The one who performed because she could, because she loved it, because she refused to disappear. The night before nationals, I barely slept. Not because of fear, but because for the first time in a long time, I felt ready. Coach Mari had helped me rebuild not just my routine, but my belief in myself. My body wasn't perfect, but my mind was clear. I wasn't doing this for scores anymore. I was doing this to reclaim something they had tried to take from me. But sometimes, life doesn't wait for your victory speech. That morning, during warm-ups, my vision blurred midwest, a strange fog. My hands missed the bar, and for a split second, everything slowed down. Then I hit the mat wrong. Hard. My ankle twisted. I didn't cry. Not then, but the sound of gasps in the gym hit harder than the floor. Coach Mari rushed to me. Trainers came. Judges looked away. I tried to stand. Couldn't. I kept saying, I'm okay. Over and over again, like maybe if I said it enough, it would become true. But the pain shot through me like lightning. My body was screaming what my heart didn't want to admit. I wasn't okay. And just like that, after everything I had fought through, it felt like the rug had been yanked out from under me again. They carried me out. The locker room was quiet, cold. I sat there in my warm-up jacket, foot wrapped, barely breathing. My teammates didn't know what to say. Neither did I later that night. After x-rays and evaluations, the doctor gave me the words I didn't want to hear. Mild sprain, but you need to rest. No competing this weekend. It wasn't career-ending, but in that moment, it felt soul-ending. I texted Coach Mari. She was in my room within the hour. No knock, just her calm voice. She didn't tell me it was going to be okay. She didn't try to find a silver lining. She just said, this sucks, but it's not the end. I nodded, but my mind was already spiraling. If I couldn't compete, what did that mean for nationals? For scholarships? For everything we'd built? Worse, what would people say? She's fragile. She always breaks when it counts. Too much drama. Too soft to be elite. Those words weren't real yet, but I could already hear them echoing. Then something unexpected happened. Nana called. I tried to hold it together. She didn't say much, just listened. Then she said something that snapped me out of it. Simone, you're not a score. You're not a vault. You're not someone's trophy. You are a flame. And flames don't go out. They burn slower when the wind's too strong. But they never disappear. And in that silence, I realized I wasn't afraid of losing. I was afraid of being forgotten. The next day, I showed up, not to compete, but to watch, to support. And that's when I saw it. A girl from our team, shaking before her beam routine, new, talented, terrified. I walked over and whispered, look at me. You don't have to prove anything. Just breathe." She nodded, and nailed her set. That moment, it changed something in me. I started coaching from the sidelines, giving pep talks, cheering every landing, offering tissues after tears. I realized my voice mattered, even off the mat. And when the team qualified for nationals, I didn't feel jealous, I felt proud. Because I was part of that. In the weeks that followed, I kept rehabbing. My ankle healed. My spirit, too. Coach Mari asked if I wanted to choreograph a new floor routine, something softer, more expressive. I hesitated. Then I said yes. Not because I had something to prove, but because I had something to say. We built it together, every beat, every move, a piece of my story. One night, after practice, I stayed behind, alone. Music played low in the gym. I stepped onto the mat. No crowd, no pressure, just me in the silence. I danced, I leapt with control. I flipped with trust. And in the stillness, I found a new kind of power. And right there, barefoot on the mat, I knew something big was coming. I just didn't know when, or how. People thought I disappeared after Tokyo. Truth is, I was still here. Just quiet. Not silent, there's a difference. For once, I wasn't performing for applause or chasing validation. I was listening. To my breath. To my body. To a part of me I'd ignored for too long. My truth. The world kept spinning, and the noise didn't stop. Headlines dissected me. Commentators questioned my character. Strangers on the internet wrote essays about my mental weakness. Funny how everyone becomes an expert in strength the moment you step out of the arena. But I wasn't trying to be strong in the way they wanted. I was trying to be whole. And wholeness, I learned, sometimes looks like walking away. One email, buried under a pile of junk mail, would flip my world upside down. It was from a producer. A national talk show. Millions of viewers. They wanted me on the couch, under bright lights, answering the world's most uncomfortable question. Why did you quit? Part of me wanted to say no. Let them wonder. Let the silence speak for itself. But something deeper whispered, what if my silence is enabling the same pain in someone else? So I said yes. The studio was colder than the gym. The host smiled like she understood me, but I knew she didn't. Not really. Then she leaned in and asked, "Simone, were you scared people would call you weak?" I looked at her. Then I looked at the camera, and I said, "They already did. But I'd rather be called weak and be alive, than win and be broken." The clip went viral. Not for the drama, but because it was real. And suddenly, the messages started pouring in. Not from coaches or journalists. From people who had nothing to do with gymnastics. A teenage boy who quit baseball because his anxiety made it hard to breathe. A mom who hadn't left her house in weeks. A veteran who said my words felt like armor. I realized something. This wasn't just about me. But just as the wave of support built, came the backlash. A retired gymnast tweeted, "Back in my day, we didn't cry about pressure. We just competed." A sports radio host laughed on air. She cracked. "That's all it is." And maybe 5 years ago, those words would have broken me. But not now. Because I had stopped asking for permission to exist. I started speaking. Not as a gymnast, as a survivor. First, a podcast. Then, a mental health panel. Then an auditorium of high schoolers where I told them, if it hurts, you're allowed to stop. That doesn't make you a quitter. That makes you human. I saw their faces shift. Relief. Recognition. One girl came up after, tears in her eyes, and whispered, "I thought I was broken. But if you feel it too, maybe I'm not." That moment was gold. Not the kind they hang around your neck. The kind that wraps around your chest and reminds you you're alive. That night, I got a text. Unknown number. Just for words. "You saved my daughter." I sat on the edge of my bed, phone in hand, shaking. They never said who they were. But they didn't have to. What came next wasn't just healing. It was transformation. I started working with a nonprofit for young athletes struggling in silence. We created workshops, story circles, safe spaces, and something wild happened. I started to smile again. Not the smile for cameras. Not the podium smile. The real one. I was still rehabbing my body. But my soul. It was in motion again. And for the first time in years, I stepped into a gym not to win, but to breathe. Because somewhere between the medals and the meltdowns, I had forgotten. I didn't start gymnastics to be famous. I started because flying made me feel free. And slowly, quietly, powerfully, I was learning how to fly again. People thought I was done. That Tokyo had been my final curtain call. They saw the tears, the silence, the drawer where I tucked my gold medal, and they assumed I'd vanished. But healing doesn't happen in front of cameras. It happens in sweat, silence, and solitude. My comeback didn't start on a mat. It started on a dirt trail behind Nana's house. Every morning at 6 a.m., before the world could wake up and judge me again, I ran. No music, no fans, just my breath and the gravel beneath my shoes. One morning, I stopped at the top of the hill, looked out over the neighborhood I once swore I'd leave behind, and I realized, maybe coming home wasn't a step backward. Maybe it was the restart I needed all along. So I made a decision. I wouldn't train for them, I'd train for her. The little girl who used to flip on the couch cushions, dreaming someone would notice. I called Coach Mari. I'm not ready for a full comeback, I told her, but I want to move again. She didn't ask for more, just said, I'll open the gym. Come when you're ready. So I did. Day 1, I could barely make it through a warm-up without my shoulder screaming. My mind still flinched at loud noises, sudden movements, but slowly, the rhythm returned. Vault, bars, beam, floor. Each move became a reclaiming of my body, my mind, my story. Coach Mari never asked for perfection, just honesty, and one day, while working on a new dismount, she said, "You're not just coming back, you're coming back changed." That's power. I didn't know how powerful, until the invitation came. A letter arrived sealed, official, an invitation to the World Classic Trials. I stared at it for an hour before opening it. World Classic Trials. The first major step toward Paris. I laughed, not because I found it funny, but because 2 years ago, I couldn't walk down a grocery aisle without panic. And now, they wanted me back on the biggest stage. I showed Nana. She smiled, then said, "You don't owe them anything. But if you go, go loud." So I did. The day of the trials, I wore a leotard stitched by a local designer. Not the team's uniform. Mine, black and gold. Strong and soft. My name across the back, not because I was cocky, but because I refused to be anonymous anymore. When I walked into that arena, the buzz was immediate. People whispered. Cameras clicked. A few jaws dropped. But I didn't look at any of them. I looked at the beam. The same 4 inches that once swallowed me whole. This time, I stepped up not to prove I was the old Simone, but to show I never left. I just grew. The routine wasn't flawless. A slight wobble, a missed connection, but the final pose, it was mine. And when I stood up, the crowd stood with me. As I stepped off the mat, a familiar face waited, my old rival, holding out her hand. We'd never really spoken. Always competition. Always comparison. But now, she smiled and said, "Welcome back." That meant more than any medal. That night, I lay in bed scrolling through messages, and one stood out. "Because of you, my daughter signed up for therapy." She said, "If Simone can talk about it, so can I." I cried. Again, not because of pain, because of purpose. But the world wasn't done testing me. 3 weeks before the national championships, my flight was delayed, my bags lost. And when I finally got to the hotel, I found out my entry had been accidentally removed. No apology, just red tape. Someone didn't want me there. But Coach Mari pulled out her phone, made 3 calls, and within hours, I was back on the list. But when I saw the start list, my name was last. Like they wanted me to be forgotten, so I made sure they wouldn't. The day of the championships, I didn't just perform. I unleashed. Every routine told a piece of my story. The pressure, the silence, the comeback. And when I landed my final vault, stuck it clean, the crowd didn't just cheer, they roared. And in the middle of it all, I spotted her. A little black girl in the front row, leotard slightly too big, holding a sign that read, "Simone taught me I'm ENOUGH." Right then, I knew, this was never just about gymnastics. It was about being seen. About being heard. About rising in the silence and speaking through movement. People think comebacks are about revenge, but mine, it was about return. To myself. People thought my story ended with a comeback, but the truth, that was just chapter 1. Coming back was never about proving something to the world. It was about proving something to myself, that I could live without hiding. Without needing gold around my neck to feel valuable. After everything, I realized, the podium isn't the only place where victories happen. I started visiting schools. Not as Simone, the champion, but just Simone. A girl who once cried in locker rooms and questioned her own voice. Kids would run up with posters and medals they made from cardboard. But what got me the most were the quiet ones. The ones who waited until the end. The ones who whispered, "I'm scared too, but you make me feel brave." That's when I knew my story didn't belong to me anymore. It belonged to everyone who had ever felt like quitting, but didn't. What if my greatest win was helping others not feel alone? Organizations started reaching out. Nonprofits, mental health groups, youth centers. They weren't asking for flips or autographs. They were asking for truth. So I gave it. I spoke at shelters, at trauma recovery groups. I cried with strangers I'd never meet again. And I kept hearing the same thing. You showed me that surviving is enough. One day, I met a teenage gymnast named Kayla. She was brilliant, sharp, focused, but with a sadness behind her eyes. Her coach introduced us, said she was struggling. We sat alone after practice, and she barely spoke. Until I said, "I used to smile through the pain too." That's when she broke. Told me everything. About the pressure, the body shaming, the fear of disappointing everyone. I didn't try to fix her, I just listened. And when she hugged me, she said, "Thank you for not pretending everything was perfect." That moment, more valuable than any medal I've ever held. I started something after that, a foundation, focused on giving young athletes access to mental health resources, therapists who understand the cost of perfection, workshops for parents and coaches, safe spaces to fall without punishment. I named it Balance, because that's what I fought for. Not just on the beam, but in life. And you know what surprised me? The gymnastics world started to change. Slowly, coaches asking better questions, judges valuing artistry over pressure-cooked difficulty, athletes taking mental health days, openly. Not everyone celebrated it. But I didn't need everyone, just enough of us to keep going. I was at a competition one afternoon, not as a competitor, but as a guest speaker. As I walked through the venue, I heard a little girl gasp and say, "She's the one who said it's okay to rest." Not she won gold. Not she's famous. She said it's okay to rest. That stayed with me. What if my legacy wasn't written in scores? But in silence I helped break. Some companies tried to commercialize my journey. Wanted me to slap a smile on trauma and sell it. But I said no. Not because I was ungrateful, but because I refused to sugarcoat pain. The world has enough lies. Instead, I funded scholarships, backed clinics in underprivileged areas, sent letters to survivors. Some of them had never heard the words, "I believe you," so I made sure they did. And in all that, something wild happened. I found peace. Not the loud kind. Not standing ovation peace. The quiet kind that lets you breathe without guilt. There's a picture on my nightstand. It's not me midair. It's not a trophy shot. It's me and Nana, sitting on the porch, eating popsicles, smiling, free. She told me once, "Baby, your life will shine brighter the day you stop needing applause." I didn't get it back then, but I do now. I started writing again. Not journals letters. To the girl I used to be. To the girls who will come after me. I write, "You are not broken. You are building something new." But what if the loudest impact comes from the quietest courage? Because maybe, just maybe, the world doesn't need another flawless routine. Maybe it needs more stories like mine, unpolished, painful, honest. And if that means I'll never stand on a podium again, I'm okay with that, because I've finally found my balance. And this time, I'm not afraid to fall. They always say the hardest part is the beginning. But no one talks about how terrifying it is to let go at the end. Standing in that arena, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. Not the kind that comes after winning. Not relief. Not adrenaline, just peace. There was no routine to perform. No scores to chase. No podiums to climb. Only the echo of my breath, the rhythm of my heartbeat, and the warmth of my Nana's eyes, watching me from the stands. And then, the applause. Not for a medal, not for a trick, but for me. For showing up, for surviving, for staying human in a world that wanted me to be a machine. But what happens when the thing that used to define you no longer fits? That question haunted me for months. After the summit, the TED Talk, the letters, the headlines, I returned home. Not to train, to live. At first, I didn't know what to do with myself. I'd spent more years in gyms than outside them. My calendar used to be booked a year in advance. Now, it was blank. and it was the most terrifyingly beautiful thing I'd ever seen. I started taking long walks with Nana, cooking meals instead of heating them up, laughing at sitcoms, playing with my nieces, just being Simone. Not the gymnast, not the champion, not the girl who quit, just me. One afternoon, I found myself going through old journals. Pages and pages of pain disguised as discipline, notes on routines, goals, wins, corrections, self-criticisms, but then, one found an entry from when I was 12. It read, "I want to be the best, but I don't want to lose myself." I cried, reading it. Because somewhere along the way, I did. But now, for the first time, I was finding her again. But could I really stay away forever? Could I let go of the sport that nearly broke me, but also built me? One day, I visited a local gym not as an athlete, but as a guest. The kids swarmed me like I was a superhero. But I sat with them on the floor, cross-legged, in my hoodie and jeans. And I said something I never thought I'd say. Winning is cool, but healing is better. The coach pulled me aside afterward, told me I had a gift not just in gymnastics, but in storytelling. He asked if I'd consider helping with their mental wellness program. At first, I hesitated. What could I possibly give that wasn't tied to medals? Then a little girl, maybe 9, tugged my sleeve and said, "When I get scared, I pretend I'm you." And my heart cracked wide open. I said yes. It started with one class, then a mentorship group, then a podcast, then a foundation. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was building something for girls like me, the ones too small, too scared, too different, the ones no one believed in, until they believed in themselves. But was the world ready to see strength in softness? Could I lead a movement? Without competing in one. I think the moment I truly let go was the night of the Hall of Fame ceremony. They asked me to wear my most iconic medal. Instead, I wore a silver chain with a tiny charm shaped like a butterfly. Because butterflies aren't born strong, they're born hidden, wrapped, still, until one day they tear through the cocoon not to fight, but to fly. I stood at that podium, looked out at a sea of faces, athletes, coaches, skeptics, survivors, and I said, I used to think power meant perfection. Now I know, power is choosing yourself when the world tells you not to. The room stood, not just for what I'd done, but for who I'd become. Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is stop, not because you're weak, but because your soul deserves peace louder than applause. If this story made you feel something, if you've ever been judged for choosing yourself, know this, you're not alone. Tell me in the comments where are you watching from. Your city and country could be in our next video. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Your voice matters, just like mine did.